I felt I needed to come on and do a live, and because for the most part, I don't like I don't like bad content. I really don't. I don't like bad content, and I don't like coming on here without having something legitimate to say. I feel responsible for my voice, and I guess it's different from other guys who are out here making money off of this platform, so they got to push out, stuff. I'm monetized, but I don't see the platform as my main source of income, and to some extent, that probably causes me not to post as much as I should because I post on inspiration, and I post when I feel a cause needs to be addressed, and when a thought comes to my mind that I think is very powerful that needs to be shared. Good to see you, Esther. I also try to make posts knowing that I have people on the East Coast and the West Coast. So that means right now, what time would it be? It'd be 1, 12, it'd be 11 o'clock on the West Coast. And it's 2 o'clock out here, so it's giving people some time to get themselves organized. But I want to say a few things, and hello to the Cyclopses, to Adonai, Skincare, and Al Katani, the Spice Man, to all of those who have joined back as members since I had that the member debacle. That took a little air out of my sails too, because I was very disappointed about that. And just life sometimes catches up with you. But I want to catch up with you folks now and just have this live. I want to talk to you real quick. And I don't understand. I do not understand the conversation that Black people in America and elsewhere are having about Donald Trump. The reason it's relevant now is because, of course, he's come back and he wants to run again. We have a lot to discuss. We have a lot to unwind. It's very interesting that him and DeSantis seem to be going back and forth when they are, in my opinion, are essentially the same exact candidate in different positions. DeSantis being a governor in Florida, Trump never governing as a state governor, but we know he was the governor of the nation. But I just find that it's just hard for me to get into the minds of Americans, and I have family on both sides of the border here and in America, and they're intelligent. And I think what I found is that a lot of people are stuck between policy and ideology. And I want to get some of us unstuck from that if I can. And I'm going to take a little bit of time to do it because it needs to happen. Like I don't know if you guys don't care about your future. There's so many things happening in the world. That's another reason I can't always come on here, because so many things are happening. Things are happening in China. I really believe that an imminent invasion of Taiwan is here. Things are happening in North Korea, where America is doing testing with South Korea, and North Korea is saying, hey, baby, we're going to arm ourselves up too because we're ready to go. You want to fight? You can have a fight. Things are happening in Israel, where they are basically raiding Palestinian settlements, and it's basically an apartheid state. Israel is an apartheid state right now. Okay, the white Jewish presence in Israel has militarized itself. I mean, Israel is going to a dictatorship level. They are moving outside of the realm of true democracy, and there is no such thing. But what the West is referring to as true democracy, Israel doesn't want any part of that anymore, simply because Netanyahu is trying to take power as an individual who's going to be indicted or is indicted. And we have the same thing now happening in America, where we have another president who's basically about to be indicted, and he wants to run. And And I'm going to warn those American citizens who come on here, remember this man is a sitting American president that Secret Service monitors and follows what you say. Do not say anything crazy on here. Please don't think that your few words here will not get back to whoever it needs to get back to. An algorithm is a snitch, and you need to be careful. We can talk about some things, but when you start talking about sitting presidents on social media sites, my friends, you don't have freedom of speech. So you just recognize that before you write, before you say anything, in these comments, you remember, you want to fly, you want to be put on no-fly lists and all these kind of things that happened to me, and reasons I couldn't get out there to the States, where I was under some incredible scrutiny, political scrutiny, while I started this great campaign to have conversations with you. I was put under some serious restraints, which are now having to be lifted by Superior Court judges. I had to get Superior Court judges to lift my capacity to move around because of how I speak here. And so when you put all those things together, people came for my money, people came for my reputation, everything, because of this platform. So I don't come on here lightly. I don't speak on here just to have nothing to say, right? And I realize that everything I say, and if I keep it up here, those things will echo forever. So let's talk. Donald Trump's biggest claim to fame from 2019 to today is that he has done more for black people than Abraham Lincoln. That's what that man has said. That he has done more for black people than Abraham Lincoln. He has said it so many times that black people started to believe it. He has said it so many times that people started to write about it like it was true. I'm sorry, because I'm at work, so I got to keep some of these notifications on. He has said it so many times that the narrative has almost shifted in his favor. And if it wasn't for other things that he has done, it would be a mental lockout in the minds of blacks that this gentleman has done more for them than any president, any period of time. This is the kind of things he has said. And so where I'm coming from now is you have to test that. And you have to test it based on what he's done in the past, what he's saying now, and what you can hopefully look to see in the future. When Donald Trump was the president, okay, the black unemployment rate did not move. Didn't move. It was about 5.9% when Donald Trump was the president. Whites were getting jobs at record levels. But the black unemployment rate didn't budge. And so remember now, when you speak about black unemployment, you're not talking about affluent black people. And affluent black folk who operate on a different paradigm say, well, I don't care. I'm not worried about unemployment. I'm worried about my investment. Donald Trump was good for my money. And his outlandish statements caused the stock market to respond. But I just want to show you something. Recessions affect our community too. Tina Henderson, how are you, my love? Shalom to you too. I'm sorry, I didn't ignore you. How the hell are you? How you doing? That's the Boykins Grand Rising to you too. Listen, I want to show you guys something. Okay, we have some charts. People of color who continue to face higher unemployment rates in the recession under Trump, and Black Americans, we faced incredible recessions under Trump. Incredible recessions, and Trump was sometimes taking credit for things that were not part of his policies, things that he inherited. And it's a very interesting thing when you start to look at the statistics. One of the other things that he said is that he did more for the HBCUs than Obama, which was not true. Not even close. to true. And so we are now dealing with a mentality that you have to be very careful of not just buying into stuff that you're just seeing. You have to become a student yourself. And thank you very much, Albert. Thank you. I appreciate everybody who comes and says they enjoy the show. I get so much positive feedback. I don't even get any negative feedback, to be honest with you. I get so much positive feedback. I know people have gone their separate ways and things, and I maybe lost a few subscribers, but I appreciate all the ones that are coming. And Trump absolutely took a lot of credit for that, as this gentleman is saying. As what Tina is saying, for what Obama did. Um, yeah, Satro, the real ones have zero respect for Trump. And if you're not listening to what this gentleman is saying now, if you're not listening, if you don't have a historical mind, Trump sounds like a cult leader. And he says the kind of things that cult leaders historically have said to incite their followers to do extreme things. They're about to arrest me. I'll be arrested on Tuesday. You're not going to have real freedom if they're allowed to lay their hands on me. And he has put himself in a position where we have now, are looking at the rise of I'll say it like this, new fascism. Look up, some of you who are young folks out here, what fascism was. This is not just in America, ladies and gentlemen. I just said it earlier. You have a dictatorship type regime that people are looking at and saying it works. Okay? Well, he's a cult leader, yes, a cult leader, C-U-L-T. And maybe you misspelled that. Putin is the example. Yes, thank you, Tina. Putin is the example of how to run a modern day dictatorship. Putin is the best example. Vladimir's country, Russia, is running without a hitch. He is threatening the entire world. If you get in his way, I have nuclear power and I'm going to use it. Imagine a man saying that in 2023. I've got nuclear power and I'm going to use it. Don't get in my way. I'm going to take over this rival state here. We're in 2023. People are still invading other countries. Don't complain when you get what you vote for. Escape the propaganda plantation. Yeah, I guess so. And I'll talk about that too, because guess what? You Democrats don't have nothing to look forward to. We got nothing to look forward to. And this is another reason. Thank you very much, our Jizzle. I've been trying to get the link for the merch. Don't mean to change the subject of the live. Del K. Brereton. Come on, Dope by Del. Del K. Brereton at Gmail. Del K. Brereton at Gmail. Send me an email. I'll get back to you. I'll get your size. I'll get everything organized for you. That merch is not on the store, but I'm going to get the store upgraded. But we're in a position. Yes, I said it earlier. China, North Korea, and Israel. China, North Korea, Israel, Russia, and now, if you get Trump back, the USA are going to be 5 despotic superpowers. Despotic superpowers, having governments that are more powerful than the capacity to vote. You can't vote out Putin. That's for sure. You can't vote out China, and them Chinese people, them brothers in control of China. You can't mess with them. You can't do nothing in North Korea. Israel is about to pass that that you essentially, the courts cannot overrule what they're doing. I believe it's in the rabbinate, if somebody can correct me. And then America is about to run into dictatorship, and Canada is number 6, because essentially our prime minister could sit there for his life. We don't have this capacity to say you can't be the prime minister for this long. Okay, I don't see nothing wrong with being a dictator. The dictator is fair. That's never the case, and I have to agree with you, Cal Bundy. But don't call it a democracy. Just call it what it is. Don't call it a democracy. Don't pretend like you're running a democracy when it's not a democracy, right? If you want a king in America, go ahead, call him a king. If you want a king in Israel, call him a king, right? But don't call it a democracy. Don't have people running around here pretending, thinking like their vote matters. Don't do that, okay? And if you're gonna have a silent uprising, why are you gonna keep it quiet? If everybody's going to war for a dictatorship, black folks, wake up. You understand? Because what's happening is that you guys are always going to be put out of this conversation. DeSantis showed you right away, we're not interested in you folks. DeSantis has showed you. If DeSantis is any example of what the new Republican Party is, which is what it should be called, it shows you that black people have no say in that party. Let me go and piggyback off some things that Dr. Umar was saying. Black folks don't only have a real conversation that they need to have with the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, right? Because remember, there's all these conversations happening now with reparations and if they should have it, if she should get. Everybody's been fooling around with that conversation because it's something to keep. It's just something to just reparations, or who's going to give it to us? Are we going to? It's something meant to just put you there to make you think something's coming to you, and it ain't coming. And I'll give you an example why it's not coming. And Umar spoke about it. He came late to the game because this happened in Canada first. With the Ukrainian government, the Ukrainian citizens, and Ukraine going through what they're going through Russia, Ukrainians landed on the shores of Toronto, Canada, by the boatload, by the plane load. And I'm gonna tell you, there was a young Ukrainian girl in her 20s, working where I was working, and it shocked me when this young lady told me that not only did she get a place to live, she got 2 bank accounts, and she got 2 gold credit cards right away. Now, y'all know how credit works in the West, right? You have to establish credit. You don't just get handed a gold card as a 22-year-old young lady with a minimum wage job. These folks got the capacity to work as they landed. They got a place to live. They were given the capacity to set up a bank account. Most places you go, you can't set up a bank account with limited ID or even foreign ID. They got their bank account set up, and they were issued gold cards by the major banks. Now, oh boy, and Umar said it like this, and he said, if this is not the greatest example of white privilege in modern times, and a despicable example of systemic racism, I've never seen it. Ladies and gentlemen, people talk about credit. All credit is a contract deal made by another institution to say, does this person have the capacity to pay me back, right? And it should be measured by what? It should be measured by how much money you make, how much other credit that you have outstanding, and those kind of metrics that evaluate credit. Then what was it being measured by Ukrainian citizens who arrived on our doorstep with nothing? Hold on. There you go. Thank you, brother. What was it being measured by? What was it being measured by? By a 22-year-old girl with an $18 an hour job that got a gold card by 2 banks? What are you using to measure that by? It's definitely not her ability to make income. It's not her wealth. She didn't have money in the bank. It's being measured by the fact that she's a person coming from a European nation, and it's being measured by systemic, implied racial mindsets. Okay? Because I'll tell you right now, I'm a 6-figure guy. I don't have a gold card. So, you know what I'm saying? I don't have a gold card. So I probably could get one. I don't know. But I've got a lot of stuff sitting up in there. They're not handing me gold cards. They're not calling me up and saying, hey, Braden, let me give you a gold card. Let me see what you guys say. What you don't understand is black people are everywhere. And how come they're not showing black people in Ukraine? We're there. Black people were in the Ukraine. Africans were in Ukraine going to school. They couldn't get out. They couldn't get out. They weren't letting them out. They take of their own. They will never go do for the so-called black people. They must separate from them, support each other, use their own tactics to help themselves. So it's incredible to me when we start to look at these individuals who say, people like Trump, and say, you know, we need to support Donald because, you know, we're conservatives and the Democrats are supporting, you know, things that we don't support, and therefore Donald Trump is a godly president. He was a god. This is the mindset that many black people have, and this is the problem that black people have. Listen to what I'm about to say: a savior complex, meaning we are always looking. I should say this: a messiah complex. We are always looking for a messiah to save us. You are always looking for a messiah to save you, and you were given. Not to make this sacrilegious, as I am a Christian, and I'm very proud to say I am, and the Jesus I worship, I know did not look European, although he was God. We are given a Messiah complex to feel like somebody is coming to save us. There is somebody who's finally understanding, and it's usually a white person. It is usually a white person that we look to and say, finally, one of us. Finally, he thinks like us. Finally, she thinks like us. She sees us. And when we look to a person of color who's supposed to save us, we do it for black people too, because we did it to Obama. We become extremely disappointed because what we become is micromanagers of every single solitary thing that person has done. And let me tell you something. Other than Jesus, no Messiah is coming. You have to save yourself in your own communities, in your own families. You have to save yourself in your own neighborhoods. Okay? You have to save yourself with your own power of vote. You have to save yourself with your own capacity to build businesses together, with your capacity to buy land together. You have to save yourself with your ingenuity. You have to save yourself with creating trademarks and creating patents and creating businesses that serve you. And hire your own when you do get in positions of power, when you do get in corporate positions, hire your community, no matter what they tell you. Use nepotistic techniques to hire people who you know are qualified, who come from your community, because when you can lift up your community, you lift up yourself. Come on, man. No Messiah is coming from the mountaintop who is not God himself to save you. And this is what they did with Trump, is they looked at Trump as a messiah to save black people. Finally, when Obama just came out, y'all look, Trump became a bigger messiah than Barack Obama to some of these folks in America. No, not me. You never get me accepted by your enemies. The elephant in the room is the world is our enemy. I'm gonna put the elephant in the room out there too. I think the other elephant in the room. The other elephant in the room is that we have forgotten how to govern. We have forgotten how to govern. And whether we are in Canada, whether we are in the US, or whether we are in Israel, we are still positioning ourselves as individuals who are under a nation. We have not positioned ourselves, and when I'm talking about we, I'm talking about the diaspora African, the African who is outside of his continent, the African who is still in the West, who is still behind enemy lines, the African who is still not repatriated himself to Africa, because repatriating yourself to Africa 90% of the time doesn't work. Doesn't work. 90% of the time, it doesn't work. You go back, yes, you're still a citizen, you can do things, but you're not going back to positions of power. Unfortunately, this doesn't work. I've tried. So you are now stuck in a posture where others are governing, and we have failed to some extent. And yes, Obama is a great example of how we have succeeded in areas, but why didn't Obama create governance under him? Like Obama, and I'll give it Obama, and it's hard for us to put a lot on his shoulders for 8 years, but the Obamas, the Nelson Mandelas, These individuals, what they did not produce, they did not lay eggs of governorship for peoples. They did not say, I cannot be the last. They did not say, once I am gone, I am going to make sure that I have inseminated around me others that will pop up and I will reproduce me. Obama is a what do we want to call him? He is a he sits outside the box of the norm, right? And yes, we can get into the fact that he's a biracial man. We can get into all those things, but we know when they look at him, that's a black man. You only need one drop of blood from as a black man to be called that. But we need to start producing more Shirley Chisholms. We need to start producing more Stokely Carmichaels. We need to start producing more Malcolm X's. We need to start producing more individuals who are interested in governing. Martin, and forgive me if I am incorrect in my history, but Martin was interested in the vote. He was interested in the rights, but I don't believe he was interested in the governing. And instead of sending platitudes to Lyndon Johnson and all these other individuals of his time, I feel that many of us, or many of them at that time in the 60s, I was a little baby, but we would have been better served to say, we need to play the long game. And we need to start building our own parties and realizing that the people that are in positions of power will always defer to their demographic. America needs a new party, black people. The Black Panther Party had the right idea, the wrong method, right? They had the right idea, the wrong method. How long will you guys go between the Democrats and the GOP? How long will that situation be something that is tenable when you know you will never, ever hold the infrastructural power of that situation unless you have particular timely advantages like now. The Democratic Party is in a very interesting position where it could literally run a black person now, a strong black leader. It could run a strong black leader now and have a chance. It could run a very strong black person now and have a chance. And let me tell you something, Democratic Party, you Democrats, you better run an individual who is idealistically conservative but democratically liberal. Idealistically conservative but democratic. This is what Obama was. Obama was a Christian, so he was conservative. He appealed to the conservative nature of America, to the Christian ideal of America. He had a liberal point of view that we found out much later, and he had a very liberal set of plans that we found out much later. But he appealed to most Americans on his conservative ideologies. Yeah. So we need to remember how to govern ourselves. We need to remember how to govern ourselves. Team Suge Knight, is that what it is? Ask the Haitians. Explain to me what you mean. Garnett Mitchell, I'm with you, brother. Buy all the land you can in Haiti. Haiti. Listen, let the Haitians buy up their own land, man. But land purchasing, I mean, if they're in Haiti and you're buying land, yes. But land purchasing, absolutely, that's one thing. But if you can't defend the land, you can't hold the land. I'm gonna get into something right now too. That DeSantis just launched this new campaign where he has signed a record bill to allow for Floridian students. Apparently, this is going to cost about $4 billion in the first year. Floridian students to now get scholarships to go to school anywhere, private schools. And it's very interesting that this gentleman just dismantled black curriculum but now has opened up the piggy bank of Florida from the taxpayer and on, so that Floridian children can go to private school. Who's going to these private schools? Who's the recipient of these private school sponsored scholarship funding? They said most of it was going to some religious schools, but most of the schools did not require any accreditation. The teachers did not have any level of accreditation. But this is what it means, that people who own private schools in Florida, people of wealth, people of status, people who have money, and people who send their children to private school, they don't need to now dip out of their pocket. Now, but they can give their child, who is already privileged, a scholarship, meaning money from the government, to give to the same school, to send that already privileged kid to another privileged place. And so now the kids, so where's this money coming from? Because understand, ladies and gentlemen, money ain't coming out of the sky. There's a budget for education. And if there's a scholarship plan to move education money to the private school sector, what's happening in the public schools? And who are in the public schools? Who are the kids going to public school, who need books, who need lunch and supports and school programs? Who are those kids, right? So you have to read between the lines what these folks are doing. Nepotism cuts two ways, right? It could look like, oh my gosh, this is so fantastic, it's for the kids, but it's not for your kids. That ain't for your kids. That ain't for your kids. And if you have the capacity to send your child to private school, then should scholarship money be predominantly for you? Is that who the money is for? So no, that's not who the money is for. It's for lower income children who are lower income children are still going to be touched, but predominantly the lower income children are not going to private school. They're not applying to private school, right? I think the problem is that we haven't analyzed our enemy. Yeah, every single one of our heroes had the right idea. There was no wrong method because death was in their end. Let's talk about something a little bit more serious. How about the bombing in Philadelphia? I got to do some research on that. I didn't talk about it. How many of us are willing to die for what we believe in? And this is the thing today, is that we don't have to die for what we believe in anymore. We just have to organize for what we believe in. We just have to organize for what we believe in. There's the BLM. Many of you are not fans of them, and I understand why. But they organized. They had their marches. They put their nonprofits together, their foundations together. They received billions of dollars in monies transferred over to them. Some hasn't been secured yet, but a lot of it has. They organized. They got what they wanted. And we sometimes in the what's the terminology I like to use? Fringe lifestyles like to complain a little bit when these other individuals are getting theirs, because they're organized. They're organized because they are what? Scrutinized. They're marginalized. So they organize. But you are too. One of the things that black women all over the world, especially North America, are doing, black women are creating businesses for themselves. They're creating businesses. They're saying, I want to be a lash tech. I want to do nails. They're getting into these cosmetic fields. They're teaching. There's tutoring. They're doing dance studios. They're doing all these things now, more so than the men. Is it because men are no longer skilled? Is it because men are no longer inspired? No. There is a collective mindset of organization behind black women that causes many of them to say, hey, she's doing it, I can do that too, let's do it. It's collective. Many of us men, we're still sitting in the silos of, hey, what can I do on my own? But the point is, what I'm trying to bring up is that, why is it that when we do decide to unify, we unify behind a white messiah? We unify behind a mentality that this person has come to save us. Let's talk about Haiti is rich with new mineral from outer space. It has mountains on it. Um, we get loads of educated, intelligent brothers and sisters. Back, I'm back. I'm back, I'm back, I'm back. I'm back, I'm back, I'm back. So we have the capacity to put things together. Um, and so we need to now motivate ourselves in the areas that are different, right? Crazy different. We need to motivate ourselves in areas that are different. We need to stop seeing these pundits who people are putting in front of you as individuals who are approachable to become tenable for things that we think we need. Trump is never an option. um, I'm reading something. The mechanism for funding HBUs was very little to do has very little to do with Trump. Um, he mentioned how his administration has funded historically black colleges. They couldn't get funded. Nobody was funding them, and this was simply untrue. The federal government invested more than $4 billion under Obama in HBC over 7 years. $4 billion. And while federal funding for HBC has been renewed under Trump's presidency, Trump has not publicly acknowledged that renewal is a result of the congressional appropriations. Obama gave them that doggone money. and it's this guy taking credit for something that was already done. Not saying that the Asians should be hurt, beat, or discriminated against. They earn their right. The only nationality that's benefiting from education here in the United States are Asian. Yeah. Anyways, I don't know what I can say more, ladies and gentlemen, but I do want to say this, that I want this channel to be more about having real conversation about mobilizing and not just complaining. Because we know what the issues are. I'm not giving you anything you don't know. Some of you know it better than me. Some of you just can't articulate it. Maybe you're afraid to. Maybe you don't have the time. And I love the folks that send me articles and stuff because I do pick them. I read them. Every one of you who send me articles to my Instagram, check my Instagram, Del K. Burton on Instagram. Um, all of you. I get into some people, I jump into your DM, I say hello to you, I meet you, and I thank everybody who's keeping me going. We need to start forming nation building initiatives. Okay? My sister called me today, right? Just to give you an idea of where my head is at. She's like, we haven't been on Instagram in a while. My sister's a hilarious person. Um, and well, I didn't do anything, Tina. Just keep posting, girl. Keep posting. I don't mind anything you're saying. My sister wanted us to do some kind of show on love languages. I said, sweetheart, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm not even motivated to have those conversations. I don't. There's so much relationship conversations happening on Instagram. It doesn't require my brain. I don't want to talk about it. It's not cerebral enough for me. I'm not motivated, and I'm probably the wrong guy to talk about it. I also don't want to just talk about finances. Let me tell you something as I close, as I get out of here, right? Fiduciary or fiat currency, talking about fiat currency is almost useless. And I'll say why. To me, fiat currency has gone the route of the Wright brothers planes. And you know, right now we're trading paper for goods and for time. We know that's ridiculous. We know we are moving to a cashless society. We know we're moving towards the cryptocurrency and moving towards different ways to appropriate what is wealth and what is not wealth. And we're going to have people that essentially, um, you know, their their intelligence is going to be their wealth. Their capacity, what they bring to the table, their ingenuity is going to be their wealth. I'm not wasting time talking about money. I'm not. Although money, as the Bible says, is a defense. Money answers all things. But what is it? What is the money of the next generation? And this is where I'm hitting you. The money of the next era is governorship. Does this brother can't do much because again, I don't know what's going on with Uncle Ben, right? But does Biden, Uncle Joe, does Biden, you know, before he gets on a plane, look in the presidential bank account and say, we got enough money to gas up the jet, to gas up Air Force One? No, man, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that because the world operates not on the monetary level. That's where you and I operate. It operates on the resource level, on the acquisition level, that can I take it level. Isn't that what's happening in the Ukraine? When they walk into Taiwan's about to become China again. When they walk into Taiwan and say, we're going to take you back, was that bought or purchased? No. It's a time to govern. It's a time to govern. Are we willing to work together now? That's what the question is. People are waking up. Are we willing to stick together and work together now so nobody dies? Listen, Tina, I'm not there yet. Because the conversation ultimately has to go there, right? The way you govern is by the threat of death. We just know that. We saw it. Vladimir Putin does it. The American military does it. China does it. Everybody, they govern on the threat of death. And the people that don't have the capacity to have the threat of death stay quiet. They can't say anything. You think Nigeria can't talk, big talk. Ghana can't talk, big talk. Senegal can't talk. These little places with their little armies and their little powers, they don't have satellites in the sky that can wipe people out. They can't talk. We must operate on a level of governorship. If we don't govern, we can never truly be free. You can't be free when somebody can just unwind your freedom, unwind your rights with a bill, with a law. Come on. Can decide to take your money out of the bank because it says, you know, we've seized it, we've taken it, we've appropriated your lands. That's unless you. What is true wealth? It's power. Period. True wealth is power. It's power that cannot be corrupted or interrupted. That's true wealth. And we must now establish a level of governorship. I don't know why I'm not saying it right. Governorship, I guess that's the way to say it. You must establish that. Or else we're just waiting for the inevitable. We're waiting for a regime to come in and say, hey, yeah, we're not going to let you guys do that anymore. We're going to need to collect you guys. We're going to need all you guys to wear a sign. Why do you think the Jews are so militant about making sure that they don't see anything that sounds like what they call anti-Semitism? The European white man is afraid that the world will just simply kill him again. That little Jew is afraid, deadly afraid, that one day people will just decide to say, hey, we're not going to let you do that anymore. But why are we? That's the question. Have we gotten so used to being killed, beaten, so used to being told you're not able to do that, black man? Oh, we don't have a lot of you up in here. We're not hiring right now. You're not qualified. You know what? We're not going to be able to pass that scholarship. We don't have the funding for that. Are we so used to that you have forgotten how to govern? Let me tell you something. As I close, it's been 43 minutes. Trump is not your example. Trump is not your example. Stop looking for these types of individuals to lead you. Don't be breathing out of your mouth, Trump 24, and say, well, what else do we have? We don't have any other choices. You have a lot of choices. You have a lot of choices. You have the power to create your platforms. I created this one out of nothing, talking about a basketball player who quoted the wrong book. You have the capacity to do it. All right? Let's talk about the woke people that realize that why Jesus is from a bishop's son, whose image is the white Jesus. I thought you meant to say white Jesus, Tina. Anyways, I thank you very much for coming on here. I wanted to come and to drop something on you guys and to talk about this whole thing. We need to start talking now. Let's talk about the fact that they have us worship on Sunday, that Constantine shows us to worship. See, these are other distractive things to me, Tina, because that information is not completely accurate, right? Constantine didn't choose that day. Constantine had nothing with it to that day. So these things are that's what they call it, the Gregorian calendar. So these are things that we, again, they are secondary things. They have to become secondary things. Although they're important to our spirituality, they're important to understanding how we worship properly. And I can have a conversation about that. But Constantine had nothing to do with that. Constantine wasn't even looking into that, right? That wasn't part of his skill set or understanding. He asked these 300 bishops to teach him the faith. And the church was worshiping on the Lord's Day from the first century, right? Because remember, the Gentiles could not go into synagogues. So they could not, right? They could not worship on the Sabbath day. The Jewish men who turned to Christianity understood that they had to deal with the Gentiles on one day and deal with their own Judaistic roots on the Sabbath day. But still, from the very first century, the church was worshiping on the Lord's Day. That's what they was referred to. In the Bible, it's called the Lord's Day, and the church has always called it the Lord's Day. Constantine, 300 years later, did not change it. The Gregorian calendar, what it only did is it changed from a lunar calendar to a solar calendar. And the purpose of that was so that they could have a measurement, a proper measurement of when Easter can come around. They didn't want to use the Jewish calendar systems anymore. So, but anyways, that is secondary information. Governorship. I don't say it properly. But thank you very much for listening. It's Del K. Brereton. This is the Real Spiel. I love all of you guys to go on the store. Check out the merch. Del K. Brereton. It's Dope by Del. Dope by Del. My girl in embellishment is saying, when are you going to push the merch? It's Dope by Del, baby. It's Dope by Del. And yes, I'm going to have some of my other topics too, and I'm going to come out here and talk, but I got to do more lives like this. Let's talk about these kind of things. I've been here for almost an hour. Thank you very much for listening. For those that came out here, Del K. Brereton. Tell a friend. Share it with somebody. We're going to do it. I'm not complaining. I'm just stating the fact. Come on, Tina. Bless you. I thank everybody for coming out here. Governance. Thank you very much, Garnet. I've been saying governance. Thank you very much. This ain't my language. They gave it to me. They forced it upon me. Governance. We need to learn how to govern. And governance needs to be our new form of currency. Governance is our currency, right? Not the American dollar, not the pound, not the euro. Governance. That's our currency. That's the currency. Come on now. What does Congo have to offer the world? What does Congo have? What does Ghana? The Ghanaian CD? Is Ghana offering the world their money that is useless? Bless you, Garnett. No. Ghana has gold. Ghana has minerals. Ghana has resources. And when you can use your resources for true world power, you have it. Instead of making deals with China to get American money to run their budgets, right? Ghana should be making deals with India, should be making deals with Israel and say, hey, listen, we want weapons. We want to make sure our country is safe. We want satellites. Yep. We want to make sure our technology, we want to make sure that we can have Wi-Fi, in every valley, in every nook and crook. We want to make sure that we have an ionosphere that protects us so that we can send weather against you like you guys can do in America, right? America don't need nuclear weapons no more. Come on, man. They can use the weather against you. They got more than you realize. So anyway, I'm getting off. I love you too. I love that we can have these conversations, Tina, and everybody who is here. Garnett, I appreciate you. Governance. I appreciate everybody so much. My brother who gave the offering earlier, R Jizzle, Del K Brereton at Gmail, and we can get that merch happening for you. Dope by Del and everything else that we got out here. All right, so peace and blessings to everyone, and I'll talk to you guys soon. I'll be back. Bless you.